I never expected my daughter's husband would betray me, but what he discovered left him shocked. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with tension, like a storm brewing. Imagine standing in a room filled with whispers, secrets swirling like dust in the sunlight. I was making dinner, the smell of garlic filling the air, when I heard the door slam. My heart dropped. I turned slowly, a lump in my throat, fear prickling down my spine. It was Josh, my son-in-law. He looked different, pale, trembling hands, eyes wide with something dark. I didn't understand. Was it guilt? Anger? He stood there, frozen, as if the world had tilted on its axis and left him holding on to the edge. He was the last person I expected to walk in with the weight of betrayal hanging over him. I wanted to reach out, to comfort him, to tell him it would be okay, but I had a feeling it wouldn't. And my daughter, Emma, was upstairs, blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing below. She was perfect, my light, and I'd fought to give her everything, including a good man to love. But what if that love was a lie? A shiver ran down my spine as memories washed over their wedding day, the way they exchanged vows, the laughter, the hopes, the dreams built on the very foundation of their love. "What's going on, Josh?" I managed to whisper, my voice shaky. He inhaled sharply. There was a flicker of something, fear. Desperation. "I need to tell you something," he stammered, his voice breaking. My heart raced. The room closed in around me. What could possibly come next? Was it money troubles? An affair? Suddenly, everything felt suffocating. My hands trembled as I fought to steady my breath. The silence stretched, the kind that fills rooms with heavy shadows. And then he said it. "I found something about your past." Just those words sent ice through my veins. My past? I felt like I was losing control, the ground slipping beneath me like wet sand. In that moment, all the warmth from the kitchen vanished. The walls began to loom, trapping me in a haze of confusion and dread. "What do you mean, Josh?" I asked, a sharp edge to my voice. My heart thudded relentlessly, each beat echoing the panic rising within me. "Something from before you met Dad, something that could change everything." His eyes were wide, haunted. I felt the air thicken again as I searched his face for answers, but found only a mirror of my own fear. What had he discovered? What secrets had I buried so deep that they were clawing their way back to the surface? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I stood there, paralyzed by the weight of Josh's words. They hung in the air like an unspoken curse, and I felt as if the walls of my home were closing in, trapping me inside my own haunting past. I wanted to scream, to throw open the windows and let in the fresh air, but I felt suffocated, the smell of garlic now bitter on my tongue. What could you possibly mean? I asked again, desperation clawing at my throat. Josh swallowed hard, his gaze flickering to the floor, unable to meet my eyes. I could see the inner conflict waging war within him. He was fighting against something far more significant than my past. He was marking the line between loyalty and betrayal that I didn't want to believe it, but he hesitated, struggling to find the right words. I watched, trembling in the silence, wanting nothing more than to take that moment back and erase it all. "A letter," he managed to say, voice shaky. "It was in your old thing, some old books in the attic. It talked about people you used to know. People who hurt you." My heart raced. Those old books. I had meant to go back up to the attic, to sort through that junk, long buried in layers of dust and time. Memories lined with heartache, secrets I thought had been snuffed out like a flickering candle. Everything I had worked to forget was suddenly surfacing, threatening to drown me. That I don't understand, I muttered, an unsteady breath escaping my lips. Why would that matter now? He shook his head, still avoiding my gaze. Because it matters to Emma. Whatever you hid, it will change how she sees you. How we see you. For a moment, the world spun. I cherished my daughter more than anything. The thought of her facing a reality where I was not the mother she believed me to be clawed at my sanity. My mind raced back to the days of unthinkable decisions, the desperate choices made in the name of survival. Please, Josh said, his voice breaking slightly, breaking through my haze. You need to explain before she finds out another way. I honestly don't know how she would handle it. His confession was like a sharp blade against my skin. I could tell he was struggling, torn between the family bonds he felt towards Emma and the revelations that threatened to shatter our world. I wanted to reach out to him, comfort him, tell him it would be all right. But whatever I might have said felt so trivial compared to the chasm opening between us. That in that moment, I heard a familiar sound, the creak of footsteps coming down the stairs. My heart raced with the instinct to shield Emma from the truth, to lock it away and pretend everything was perfect. I glanced at Josh, understanding dawning on me. Whatever past I had hidden was about to spill into the present. Emma appeared, her eyes bright with the innocence of her youth. She didn't sense the tension that crackled in the air. What's going on? She asked, her voice laced with curiosity. I wanted to scream, to tell her everything was fine, that the world hadn't been turned upside down. Yet, as her gaze flitted between Josh and me, I knew it was too late. Shadows flickered in her eyes, a hint of concern washing over her face. Just a little misunderstanding, I managed to say, but my voice broke, and I realized I was lying. One more lie in a lifetime of them. At that moment, I saw something shift behind Josh's eyes, maybe guilt or determination. It was gone in an instant. But the decision to confront the truth felt inevitable, a storm looming just beyond the horizon. Emma, he said, his voice steadying as he turned toward her, there's something you need to know. That I felt the ground shift beneath my feet, the edges of my world fracturing as anticipation and dread intertwined. I wanted to grab hold of Josh and pull him back, to silence him before he unleashed the tempest of our family into the open. But as he met my gaze, the moment stretched thin between us like a taut wire, a choice that would change everything. And then, without warning, my phone buzzed violently on the counter, an urgent notification lighting up the screen. I snatched it quickly, my heart racing as I pulled it closer. The expression on Emma's face shifting from curiosity to worry as she took in my surprise. It was a message, an unknown number. I know the truth about your past. If you don't tell your daughter the real story, I will. My breath hitched, and I looked at Josh, then at Emma, the reality of our fractured world shattering like fragile glass. I thought I had buried my past, but now it was clawing its way back, threatening to reveal everything I had fought to contain. Who is it? Emma asked, her voice trembling slightly as she stepped closer, peering at the screen. I stood there, frozen, knowing that whatever came next would change everything. The silence that followed was unbearable. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic beat that echoed the turmoil swirling in my mind. I could feel the tension pulling taut, stretching into an unbreakable bond that tied us all together, yet threatened to tear us apart. Mom. Who is it? Emma pressed, her brow knitted in confusion. I couldn't bring myself to reply. The truth was trapped somewhere deep within me, smothered by fear and dread. I wanted to tell her everything, to shield her as any mother should, but how could I do that knowing a stranger already held my darkest secret in their hands like a weapon? Just someone playing a sick joke, I finally managed to say, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. But even I could hear the falter in my voice, the cracks that began to form under the weight of my denial. Emma's expression turned serious, an unfamiliar edge creeping into her voice. You can't brush it off like that, Mom. It's not just a joke if you're taking it seriously. Her youthful features, usually so bright and trusting, were marred by an anxious shadow, and it tore at my heart. Josh shifted uneasily, watching us both, his eyes flickering with concern. Maybe you should tell her, he suggested quietly, somehow managing to keep his tone gentle despite the storm brewing between us. It pained me to admit he was right, but every instinct screamed to protect my daughter at all costs, even if it meant building a wall instead. Emma, please, I started, but Josh interrupted me. That we can't ignore this. Whatever is happening needs to be faced together. His earnest gaze met mine, and I felt an unexpected warmth radiate from him, as if he freed me from the icy grip of my own fears, even if just momentarily. That I don't want to know if it's going to hurt me, she whispered, and I could hear the tremor in her voice. It crushed me, that perhaps my insecurities were enough to shake her world to its very core, but then, a flicker of resistance ignited within me, fueled by the love I held for her. Emma, I began again, my voice steadier this time, I have things in my past that I didn't share with you. I was trying to protect you from hurt, but it's not fair to keep you in the dark, not when there are others who might twist the truth. Her confusion morphed into something deeper, something primal, that I recognized, the deep-rooted instincts of a child catching a glimpse of a world beyond her understanding. What are you talking about? Tears stung my eyes as I tried to gather my thoughts. How could I even start? My past felt like a jumbled mess of guilt, fear, and shame. There were dark chapters that shaped who I was, but I had long hoped they wouldn't bleed into Emma's innocence. There are people involved in those memories. People I tried to escape from. They're not like us, Emma, they've done things. Horrible things. The words fell heavy between us, like stones tossed into a still pond, sending ripples of unease lapping at the edges of her heart. Why did you leave them? She asked, her voice so soft it could barely be heard. I thought I did everything I could to ensure you'd never know, I cried. But the truth is that I made choices that haunt me even today. I thought burying it would allow us a fresh start. I never meant to hurt you by not telling you the whole truth. Josh took a step back, his face clouded in thought as if the weight of my revelations was tangible. I noticed a flicker of understanding cross his features as he tried to reconcile the woman he loved with the one facing her past. Emma's face twisted in confusion and betrayal. You mean the lies I grew up with? They weren't just for fun, it was to protect you. I thought it was for the best, I admitted, tears spilling down my cheeks. Before she could answer, my phone buzzed again, pulling my attention. Another message. My heart sank as I read it. You think you can keep it buried? I know where to find you and your family. The truth is coming. Emma's eyes widened at my sudden change in demeanor. Mom, what is it? I dropped the phone, a sinking feeling overwhelming me. Reality crashed in like an unforgiving wave, the gravity of my past rushing back with relentless force. No. I gasped, clutching my chest, processing the danger looming just beyond the grasp of my front door. Who's doing this? Josh's voice was urgent, cutting through my spiraling thoughts. The concern etched on his face morphed to a fierce resolve, intertwining with my swirling fear as he stepped closer. But the truth now felt like it no longer belonged to me. I don't know. I thought I had left it all behind. I cried desperately, and the tears flowed freely as I realized that the very act of hiding my past had become the trigger for its very return. That I need to know everything now. Emma demanded, her voice steely with resolve, pushing through the fog of my despair. As I looked at both of them, the urgency of the situation hung in the air like a gathering storm. I felt the lines drawn between us shifting, each revelation propelling us further apart instead of closer together. Time seemed to thrum with potential loss, a weight that knew no end, and as the truth loomed closer, I sensed that whatever happened next would leave its mark forever. The walls I had built were crumbling, and with every confession, I could feel the ground beneath me quaking, the reality that we were not just dealing with fear but a reckoning that threatened to shatter everything we held dear. This wasn't just about my dark past anymore. It was about our future. And as we stood on the precipice of revelation, I realized I was no longer just fighting my own demons. I was putting my family in the line of fire. And the clock was ticking painfully down to the moment when the truth would be revealed, even if it meant losing everything. The haunting words I had just read echoed in my mind, forming an ominous tune that wouldn't fade. I know where to find you and your family. They felt like chains binding me tighter, a reminder that old ghosts always find a way to haunt you when you least expect it, Mom. Emma's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. Her brow was furrowed with confusion and concern, and I could see her wrestling with the pieces of this unexpected puzzle. What does it mean? Who could it be? I swallowed hard, forcing down the rising tide of panic. As I opened my mouth to reply, I realized there were no simple answers. It's someone from my past, I stammered, turning the words into a makeshift shield. Someone I thought I had escaped. Then we have to tell the police. Her suggestion was filled with the fervor of youth, but I could see the fear lurking just beneath her words. The idea of involving authorities had crossed my mind, yet the memory of my past came crashing back, the feeling of betrayal that lingered, the trepidation of exposing my secrets. No, I shook my head. I can't put you in that position. They won't understand. The vehement denial tasted bitter on my tongue, but the thought of dragging my daughter into the world's ugliness I had desperately sought to protect her from felt insurmountable. Mom, Josh intervened, his calm demeanor a juxtaposition against my storm. If this is serious, it is serious. I snapped back, the weariness of my heart turning to frustration. I could hear the rising tide of my own emotions as I felt the walls close in. I've spent so long trying to shield her from this life. What gives you the right to demand answers? What gives me the right to drag Emma into a world she shouldn't have to know? Because we're a family, Josh started, but I waved him off, unable to see how loving anyone within these walls could help. The rawness of my vulnerability was spilling out, and it felt dangerous. Let's go inside, I suggested quietly, yearning for a semblance of normality. I led them back into the living room, where the shadows seemed to deepen around us. The worry etched into their faces created a chasm I wasn't sure I could bridge. Once seated, I took a deep breath. There's so much you don't understand. There were people I was involved with before you, I confessed, the fumbled words spilling out almost involuntarily. They had ties that can't just be cut. I thought I could outrun them, erase the past. But it seems they found me again. Emma's eyes widened. Are they dangerous? Should I be scared? No, I quickly assured her, but the tremor in my voice betrayed the mask I was trying to wear. It's not you they want. It's me. Your safety is my priority. Josh leaned forward, his expression shifting from concern to a difficult comprehension. Then let's face it together. Whatever it is, we can get through this. There was an earnestness in his gaze that reminded me of the moments we'd spent forging our lives together, yet a dark cloud lingered, the unspoken tension of the past threatening to encroach upon what we were building. But I couldn't bring myself to admit that being honest could somehow expose a family worth protecting, leading to a rift long before it started. I nodded, swallowing against the lump in my throat. I didn't want to bring this on you. I wanted to protect you both. Emma, the light of my life, suddenly seemed so much older, her innocent world coming to terms with shadows too difficult to comprehend. If we're family, then let us help. You don't have to do this alone. It was a brave declaration from a girl who had her own battles, yet in that moment, I couldn't help but feel the fragility in her intentions. The air was thick between us, silently begging for the three of us to reach an understanding. But just then, another message pinged on my phone, the sound piercing through the quiet intensity like a gunshot. I glanced down, a chill racing down my spine at the words that flickered across the screen. You can't hide forever. In Closer Than You Think. That I looked up, visibly shaken, only to find both Josh and Emma staring at me, wide-eyed. What's wrong? Emma's voice quivered, fear now laced with urgency. The walls of my control began to tremble once again. They know where we are, I whispered in horror, a realization that felt like ice encasing my heart. Josh's expression suddenly hardened, a protective fierceness igniting in his eyes. What do we do? His voice was steady despite the chaos swirling around us. That I wanted to be the rock for them both, to reassure them that we could tackle this together, but doubt gripped me tightly. We have to go somewhere safe, I stated, the fragility of my resolve unraveling. So many plans had fallen through my fingers, my cherished hope buried within an avalanche of untruths. As I moved toward the front door, Josh positioned himself between us and opened it, revealing the crisp night filled with the vibrations of the world carrying on as if it hadn't just flipped our lives upside down in seconds. The shadows outside seemed darker, more menacing. "We can get through this, but we have to act now," Josh said, gripping my hand in an anchor. Something inside tightened, both hope and dread intermingling. As Emma stepped into the doorway beside us, her small hand slipped into mine, a tether in the storm swirling inside of us. And though the enormity of the moment threatened to sweep me away, I understood one thing: we were together, standing on the brink of an unknown future, but I couldn't shake the desperation that clung to me. We were being hunted, and with every heartbeat, the stakes rose higher. What's more unsettling was the dawning realization beneath all that fog of fear and uncertainty lay a much darker truth, one I had yet to uncover. And I feared it was closer than any of us could imagine. The night air was laden with tension as we stepped outside, the chill biting into our skin. With every instinct honed from years of living in the shadows, I felt the urgent need to move, to lead my family far away from whatever darkness awaited us, lurking just out of sight. "Where to?" Josh asked, his voice low but firm, a buoy in the rising tide of uncertainty. I noticed his hand clutching the doorframe, knuckles white as he scanned our surroundings, forcing my mind to catch up with the situation. I took a deep breath, my heart racing like a caged bird. "We need a safe Placia motel," maybe I trailed off, knowing all too well that our reality now contained no true escape. The old message played in the back of my mind: "You can't hide forever, Mom," Emma said hesitantly, her voice small yet steady. "Are we really in danger?" There was a faint flicker of innocence left within her, but I couldn't afford to let it linger. "Yes," I said, trying to quell the worry rising in my throat. "But it's going to be okay." The assurance felt like shards of glass in my mouth, each word ill-fitting against the tempest of emotions inside me. I couldn't bring myself to share the truth, the gnawing fear that my past, that dark chapter of my life I had worked so tirelessly to suppress, might engulf us once more. Reluctantly, we stepped back into the whirling chaos of the world. Cars still rushed past, oblivious to the urgency of our situation. I felt a strange sense of loss wash over me. This ordinary street, my sanctuary, was now a theater for the horror that sought to tear us apart. That we turned right at the corner, hastening our steps as if the pavement could transport us far away from those ominous words. "I didn't think it would ever come to this again," I murmured under my breath, more to myself than anyone else. But Josh heard me. I felt his presence strengthen beside me. "Is there anyone we can trust?" he asked, casting a glance in my direction, the weight of our shared history evident in his eyes. Trust. A complicated tapestry woven with betrayal and secrets, frayed by decisions from long ago. My gut twisted at the thought of reaching out, yet I knew I couldn't keep us isolated any longer. "There's one person," I hesitated, the name bringing forth remembrances I wished to shield Josh and Emma from. "But I'm not sure how they'll react." Josh nodded, the determination to keep his family safe evident in the furrow of his brow. "We don't have many options," he urged. As my mind raced to recall the fragmented memories of a life beyond my own, I found myself reluctantly drawing upon a person I had hoped never to face again. Peter. Eric's brother. There had been camaraderie once, but time had twisted the bonds, trouble like roots intertwining through hardened earth. "Let's go to his place. He might help us." Even as I said it, anxiety coiled in my stomach. I couldn't forget the animosity that had shattered our connection, nor the silent war of buried grudges that may resurface. "Do you trust him?" Josh's voice pulled me from my reverie. I hesitated. "I want to believe he's still the good man I knew long ago." In the frail light of a street lamp, I saw a flicker of desperation passing through Josh's features. "Then I guess we're doing this," he said resolutely, and I admired his courage, even amidst my own swarm of worries. We took a route that felt foreign yet familiar, leading us towards the outskirts of town where Peter lived, the unraveling scene before us painted with the darkness of the unknown. Each step felt heavy, shadowed by the words that played over and over in my mind, warnings that rooted me in trepidation. Arriving at Peter's nondescript apartment complex, my heart raced. "What if he refuses to help?" Emma whispered, her hand still clutching mine like a lifeline. "Then well, think of something else," I promised, though my own faith in those words wavered. As we rang the doorbell, I could hear the echoing rhythm of my heartbeat in my ears. Every passing moment felt laden with uncertainty, as I reminded myself that invoking old ties could either kindle a flame of hope or ignite an explosive anger. The door creaked open, revealing a familiar yet strikingly altered face. Peter's brooding gaze met mine, and for a brief moment, we stood as strangers caught in the web of our shared history. "Lila," he said, his tone heavy with conflicted emotions. "I need your help, we all do." The urgency in my voice broke through the silence fogging the air between us. Before he could respond, a sudden sound erupted from behind USA car screeching to a halt, tires spinning against the asphalt. Panic blazed in my chest as I turned to see a figure darting toward us, silhouetted against the harsh glow of headlights. "Run!" I screamed, my instincts kicking in as I grabbed Emma's hand and tugged her forward. Josh followed close behind, but the scream stuck in my throat when I realized that we weren't merely fleeing from darkness, but inviting it in with the very person from whom I'd tried to shield my family. As we sprinted down the alley, adrenaline thrumming through my veins, I couldn't quite accept the building dread around us. But the looming shadow was escalating too quickly, and in that fleeting moment, it hit me: if the specter from my past wasn't just a distant memory? What if it was intertwined with the very person I now sought help from, unraveling the fragile hope I clung to? In an instant, a scream echoed from the darkness behind us, weaving into the fabric of a fractured trust, binding me to the past I had tried so hard to flee. As the figure approached, recognition flooded my mind, a face I had never wanted to see again, but the shockwaves of betrayal left me breathless. It began to dawn within me: I was now ensnared within the web of my own making, the walls collapsing in as the contrast of safety and peril blurred into oblivion. The alley seemed to stretch endlessly, each echoing footfall a desperate plea for escape. The scent of damp concrete mixed with the earthy aroma of impending rain enveloped us, yet I could hardly breathe as panic clawed its way up my throat. "Lila!" Peter's voice rang out, but my focus was solely on the figure rapidly closing the distance behind us. The haze of streetlights flashed across the features of the threat that loomed, the haunting familiarity sending ice through my veins. Josh, sensing the gravity of our predicament, squeezed Emma's hand tighter as we ran. "Who is that?" he gasped, but the answer sat unspoken upon my lips, festering in the shadows of my mind. I didn't want to share the dread lumped in my throat, lest it become real. What could I say? Kenneth, my old lover, embodied the ruin of my tranquility, my past intersecting painfully with my present. His impulsive decisions had left not only scars on my heart but rippling consequences affecting everyone I loved. Another voice, this one even more unsettling, echoed from behind, deep and husky: "Lila. I know you can hear me." The urgency in his tone stirred a mix of revulsion and fear within me. "We can't stop. Just keep running." I called out, but deep down, a small, nagging voice wondered if running would even be enough. The alley finally opened up onto a broader street, a momentary reprieve unfolding before us as my mind raced through options. We could slip into the crowd, vanish into the night, but what if Kenneth knew where we were headed? What if he shadowed our every move? My heart raced with the gravity of my choices. Just as we reached the intersection, a soft touch brushed my arm, a fleeting reminder of gentleness amidst the chaos. It was Peter, breathless but steady. "This way," he urged, gesturing towards an unlit side street. The trust that I had doubtfully nurtured stirred within me, awakening the hints of kinship and camaraderie from yesteryears. "Are you sure?" I hesitated, my past clinging tightly to my ankles like a heavy anchor. But I could see in Peter's eyes a spark of determination, a desire to shield us from the rage that threatened our safety. "Please," he insisted, urgency sharpening his features. "We have to move now. Kenneth won't stop." With a deep breath, I veered toward the side street, my senses heightened to catch any sign of danger. The shadows felt oppressive, merging into the darkness as I strained to keep my family close. Emma quietly walked beside me, glancing up occasionally, searching for reassurance that everything would be all right. "What's going on, Mom?" Her voice broke through the suffocating silence, trembling with trepidation. I turned, searching her gentle eyes for strength, but all I found was a reflection of my own fear. "Nothing will hurt you. I promise," I said, my heart breaking at the cost of my words. Emerging from the shadows, we stumbled into a small park, its resilience mirrored in the haunting glow of the moonlight reflecting off the dewy grass. An area of refuge, but a precarious one, and I felt time slipping through my fingers yet again. Peter moved closer, his voice lowered. "We need to find somewhere secure to hide, even for a moment. Let me check around first." Moments stretched as he disappeared into the underbrush, leaving me standing there, exposed and vulnerable. The weight of uncertainty settled heavily in the pit of my stomach, wrapping around my heart. I turned to Josh, whose eyes bore the burden of worry, a storm held tightly in the chambers of his chest. "What if he finds us?" "He won't. Not if Peter knows what he's doing," I attempted to assure him, even as doubt seeped into my words. The reality of the situation clung to me like a shroud, wrapping me tightly in fear and regret. "Mom!" Emma shouted, her voice a shriek of warning. I snapped my head to see Kenneth emerge from the opposite side of the park, tall and imposing, his presence consuming the shadows surrounding him. The unwelcomed echo of our past reverberated within me, memories flooding back like a torrent I had desperately tried to bind. "Lila," he called, a sinister smile creeping across his lips that sent shivers curling down my spine. "You thought you could just leave? After all we've been through?" My heart pounded like a war drum, every instinct screaming to protect my children as fear wrapped around me like barbed wire. "Stay back!" I yelled, standing defensively in front of Josh and Emma. "Or what?" He stepped closer, relentless. "You still think you can shield them from the truth?" "The truth?" My breath caught, and I hesitated, overwhelmed. Because the truth was a beast with claws that could shred everything to pieces. Just then, Peter reappeared at my side, a wild look in his eyes. "Get them out of here now." He barked at me, positioning himself protectively in front of us. I glimpsed the strained resolve etched on his face, desperation twisting into determination. Before I could react, Kenneth lunged toward us, but Peter intercepted him, grappling in a tangle of limbs. "Run!" he shouted again, his voice hoarse with exertion. I hesitated for only a moment, making the split-second decision to protect my family. "Come on!" I urged Josh and Emma, pulling them away, shoving them forward as I felt the weight of dread pressing down on me. In the distance, sirens screamed to life, drowning out the chaos surrounding us. Our path extended before me like an open wound, yet here, in the very center of that wound, lay the echo of Kenneth's taunting laughter and Peter's unwavering resolve. A revelation struck me like a lightning bolt amidst the cacophony. I was not just running from the darkness, I was sprinting toward a new truth, a truth I could no longer escape. As we bolted forward, the weight of my entanglements lay heavy on my shoulders. In the next heartbeat, a distant shout pierced the air and froze my heart. "Lila! You need to know something before it's too late." I stopped dead in my tracks, fear expanding in my chest as I turned slowly back, my heart pounding. What was the truth I needed to hear? As I scanned the park, uncertainty glazed my vision, and all I could think was, would this new revelation bind us tighter or unravel everything? The air held a chilling tension, moments stretching into infinity as I stared back at Kenneth. His voice, laden with deceit, hung between us like a frayed thread ready to snap. "Lila! You need to know something before it's too late," the words echoed hauntingly in my mind, a cruel reminder that knowledge can taste like ashes. My heart raced, caught in a crossfire of emotions. What could you possibly say that would change anything? You've already taken so much from me. His face twisted, a dark flicker of amusement playing at the corners of his mouth. "This isn't just about you, Lila. It never was." "Stop," I hissed, stepping protectively in front of Emma and Josh, determined to shield them from the insidious intentions that oozed from him. Peter still grappled with Kenneth, though I could see strength wavering in his muscles. I felt my body tense, panic urging me to flee, but a strange pull anchored me to the spot. "Run, Lila." Peter's voice cracked as he struggled against Kenneth's brutal grip. I could see the desperation in his eyes, a plea sharpened by the urgency of the moment. But there was something about Kenneth's challenge that gripped me. Curiosity tinged with dread, pierced the cocoon of fear surrounding my heart. Kenneth's laughter echoed through the park as he caught the wild look in my gaze. I was trapped, searching for answers among the shadows he cast. "Your children deserve to know the truth about their family," he said, his tone mockingly sympathetic. "They deserve to know how deep this rabbit hole goes." "Enough!" I shouted, though the tremor in my voice betrayed the panic within. "I won't let you twist this narrative any further," but then it struck me. What if there was a truth, a hidden reality that could shatter the fragile worlds around us? "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice sharper than I expected. Kenneth grinned, a predatory glint reflecting in his eyes. "You think I'm the only one with secrets? Your children have their own, Lila. Secrets that can change everything." The silhouette of Peter faltered as Kenneth shoved him away, and in that fleeting moment, I could see the struggle etched on Peter's face, his disbelief mingled with exhaustion as he tried to rise again, his resolve still unbroken. "Don't listen to him." Peter's voice rasped, clawing through the confusion enveloping me. "Lila, we need to go. This is not worth the risk." Yet, Kenneth's words curled around me like a siren's song. What could he possibly mean? What did he know that I didn't? Emma's eyes darted between us, innocent yet burdened, and I felt my chest tighten at the weight of her silent questions. "Lila, please." Peter gasped, now torn between battling Kenneth and persuading me to move. Another siren blared in the distance, drawing closer, but Kenneth's presence felt like an immovable obstacle, one that I couldn't simply outrun. "If you want to understand why everything is falling apart," he taunted, "just ask your daughter." A cold wave of dread washed over me, spiraling into terror with every word. My gaze flicked to Emma, who stood wide-eyed, a mix of confusion and fear lurking just beneath the surface. What is he talking about?" she whispered, her voice nearly breaking. At that moment, I felt the ground beneath my feet start to sway. The implications of Kenneth's words took root, creating a chasm of uncertainty. I forced myself to meet Emma's gaze, but the truth loomed like a gaping maw, ready to swallow us whole. "Mom!" Josh's voice broke through my spiral of thoughts. He stepped forward, pushing against the weight of the silence, reaching for Emma's hand. "What does he mean?" Kenneth seized the moment, a predator circling his prey. "Ah, children," he drawled, "it's simple. There's more to this family than you can comprehend. Sometimes the ones we love have buried their own secrets so deep, we lose sight of the truth. My heart raced, but I fought against it, resisting the urge to retreat. I didn't want to let Kenneth's words seep into the foundation of our family. "You're lying," I said, the conviction trembling in my voice. "Am I?" He scoffed, glancing between us, a devilish smile brightening his features. "I wish I could say that were true. But the truth is often more painful than the lies we tell ourselves." Just then, Peter lunged forward again, a fierce energy building within him. "Enough of this. Lila, let's go," he shouted, but Kenneth's hand shot out, grabbing hold of my arm as I took a step backward. The drizzle from earlier had turned into a steady rain, drumming live chaos onto the grass and soaking everything around us. But it was the tempest of emotions surging within me that truly threatened to drown us. "What do I need to find out?" I yelled, half begging, half defiant against the storm brewing around us. Kenneth leaned closer, his voice a whisper laden with malice. "The ones you love the most can become the ones you should fear the most." My heart dropped, a sudden nauseating realization threading through me in the dim light. What if the only truth we needed to confront lay not in Kenneth's words, but in the ones that could surface from within my own family? Before I could process it further, Peter broke away at last, his eyes furious and blazing. "We don't have time for this." But before I could follow him or shout another warning, Kenneth's cruel grip tightened, and I felt the world blur around the edges. "This isn't over, Lila," he seethed, as the sirens approached with deadly finality. As if scripted by fate, a loud crash sent reverberations through the park, and I turned in horror to see an unmarked van screech to a halt nearby. My breath hitched, and panic ignited anew. The answers I sought were suddenly eclipsed by a frightening uncertainty. Would the emerging truth unite us or scatter our shattered ties to the wind? The storm was far from over, and I could feel it treacherously stirring once again, pulling us into an abyss where light barely flickered, and just when I thought I was bracing for the storm, a familiar figure stepped forward from the van, their silhouette framed by unforgiving streetlights. My heart twisted painfully in my chest as I recognized them, the last person I ever expected to complicate my already chaotic life. The chaos of emotions surged around me, constricting like the cruel grip of a vice. I stumbled backward, eyes locked on the figure emerging from the van, the chill of fear creeping through my veins. No, it couldn't be him. Not now, not in this moment when everything hung by a thread. Mom. Emma's voice trembled as she clutched Josh's hand, confusion deepening in her bright eyes. I could almost see the wheels turning in her mind, trying to comprehend the strangeness of this unexpected arrival. Kenneth. Peter shouted, the echo of his voice laced with fury as he attempted to shield us from danger. But my mind raced elsewhere, unbidden memories flooding back, the laughter, the promises, the fractures beneath the surface that I had chosen to ignore. Ethan, I whispered, my heart now a frantic drum in my chest. He stepped closer, casting uneasy glances from Kenneth to Peter. I felt an ache of betrayal so profound that it threatened to consume me whole, mingling with the fear festering inside. Kenneth chuckled softly, relishing the audience to this twisted theater. Surprise. It seems we all have skeletons in our closets, don't we, Ethan? He sneered, eyes glinting with malevolence. My son-in-law's gaze flickered to me, confusion mirroring my own. Lila, he began, but the words fell into the storm, lost to the chaos that enveloped us. I didn't know what? My voice rose, edged with desperation. Did he know about Kenneth? Did he know anything I didn't? Didn't know what secrets you've kept from me? From Emma? The weight of the unasked questions pressed heavily on my chest, and I felt the suffocating panic clawing at me. Each revelation seemed to twist deeper into the fabric of our lives, unraveling the threads I tried so hard to weave together. Kenneth seized the moment, a snake curling up to strike. You both should thank me, he crowed, for revealing the ugly truths hidden in your family. Because sometimes it takes an outsider to shine a light on the darkness within. Ethan clenched his fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface as he leaned toward me, speaking low. Lila, I promise, I didn't bring this upon us. I just came to retrieve something from the house, earlier something. I echoed incredulously, caught in a whirlwind of confusion and heartbreak. He took a step away from the chaos, his eyes darting to Emma's frightened face. Your mother, she didn't tell you about? The words hung in the air, taut with unsaid meanings. I braced myself, desperately wanting to shield Emma from the truth, not just from Kenneth's manipulation, but from the truths lurking in our family, twisted by misunderstandings and half-revealed secrets. Mom, what do they mean? Emma's brow knitted together in concern, her innocence sharply evident in that moment. It was a vulnerability that spurred me into motion. Being a mother, the protector of her innocence, came first. Stay close, Emma, I implored, my voice firm even as the foundation of my world crumbled around me. I started to step back, pulling Josh and Emma closer to me, like a shield against the storm, but Ethan swayed, torn between his loyalty to me and his own hidden motives. Lila, you need to listen, he breathed, looking pleadingly into my eyes. Kenneth didn't just show up unannounced. There's someone else involved, someone from our past. The rain poured down more fiercely, blurring the lines between reality and confusion. The words from earlier ghosted back into my mind. Buried truths, secrets. But this wasn't the time for revelations. There was danger lurking both in Kenneth's vile machinations and the shadows of our own history. Lila. Peter's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts. We can't stay here. We need to get the kids to safety. But Kenneth laughed, taking a single step forward, towering over us with a semblance of authority. Oh, how precious. You think you can protect your children from the truth? You're naive. A moment of silence followed, filled with the pounding of rain and the weight of our collective fears. Then, with surprising tenderness, Ethan stepped forward. Mom, whatever Kenneth knows, he'll help you unravel it, he said, determination flaring in his gaze. But you need to trust me. The instinct to trust him felt like a betrayal in itself, yet the sincerity in his voice tugged at some long-buried emotion within me. I had always viewed him as part of my family, but what if he had kept secrets too? The crux of history that moment stretched into an eternity, and just as doubt seeped back into my heart, Emma gasped suddenly. Look! She cried out, pointing to the shadows creeping near us. A figure emerged from the darkness, a woman wrapped in layers of heavy coats and a ghostly pallor to her skin, her face just barely recognizable amidst the downpour. My breath caught in my throat as I felt recognition slice through me like a blade. This wasn't just some casual acquaintance. This was a ghost from our past, buried but never truly gone, threading through our lives like an unseen specter. Tricia. I whispered, my voice crumbling beneath the weight of disbelief, what are you doing here? Kenneth snapped, betraying a flicker of anger, as the icy rain continued its relentless assault. Tricia's lips curled into a sorrowful smile, one that seemed to beckon the ghosts of unspoken history, but it was more than just a memory. With one chilling glance, she slowly began to speak, her words laced with secrecy and urgency. And as I stood there, grasping the hands of my children, I realized that whatever was about to be unveiled would divide us like never before or bind us with the strongest of ties. The storm was not just around us, it was within us, and I was desperate to understand how the past would shape the future unfolding before me. The rain drummed its relentless symphony against the pavement, blurring the outlines of the world around us. I felt a chaotic mixture of dread and confusion whirl in my chest as I stared at Tricia. The way her presence shimmered with so many memories, both cherished and painful, forced me back to a time when life seemed simpler, before everything had fractured. Lila, she started, voice trembling yet resolute. I didn't want to come back like this. But there are things you need to know. Things about Kenneth, about Ethan, about our family. Her eyes searched mine, a pleading intensity underlying her words. He's lying, Kenneth interjected, snapping back into the moment with scorn in his tone. You think she's here to help? She's just trying to worm her way back into your good graces. You don't know what she's capable of. My thoughts raced as I tried to decipher the motives of those standing before me. Kenneth's venom dripped with a sordid truth that implied more was at stake than mere betrayal. The air was thick with tension. I could feel the needs and desires of everyone around me competing for attention, each twist of the narrative threatening to unravel our fragile hold on to the present. Mom, please, just listen to her, Ethan insisted, his voice low and earnest. He stepped a fraction closer, reminding me of the boy I had once held in my arms, untainted by the darkness that loomed now. You need to know what's going on. Kenneth isn't the savior he pretends to be. Emma's grip was still tight on my hand, her wide eyes darting between the burgeoning conflict and the river of emotions flooding her young heart. The weight of it all pressed down on me, suffocating and exhilarating. What does he mean? She asked, her innocence catching me off guard. Emma, stay close, I murmured, striving to shield her from the storm, even as it seeped into the cracks of our lives. I couldn't help but notice the damp fraying edges of our family ties pulling taut as Kenneth and Tricia circled each other like predators in a wild dance. Tricia took a slow breath, adjusting the frigid air around her. What Kenneth has done, it involves secrets I tried to escape, she said, her voice trembling with the weight of her confession. Things I thought were buried are alive and unrelenting. I shouldn't have returned, but I need you to understand the truth about Ethan. The mention of my son sent shockwaves through me. What truth? My voice ached, laced with fear of what might rear its head next. My mind raced to all the times I had blindly trusted him, how I had pieced together a life filled with the utmost care, unaware of the hidden fractures. A flicker of vulnerability passed over Ethan's face. Mom, I didn't know about Kenneth's plans because he kept everything from me. But he's been manipulating you from the shadows, using me as a pawn. Each word felt like a dagger, the pain radiated outwards, into a vast web of tangled relationships. No. Kenneth shouted, eyes blazing like the storm overhead. You're only saying that because you're afraid of the truth. You're weak, Ethan. You've always relied on her. You need to wake up. It's kill or be killed now. An icy shiver raced down my spine as the storm intensified, raindrops cascading like tears, correlating with the emotional deluge unfolding around us. In that moment, the anger and despair seeped deeper into my soul, revealing the raw underbelly of unresolved pain that had festered beneath the surface for years. Stop it. I cried, desperation clawing at my throat. All of you, just stop. What is the truth? What do you want me to grasp? As if summoned by my anguish, Tricia stepped forward, the tension between her and Kenneth snapping like a taut wire. It's about the choices we make, Lila. All of our choices. The repercussions they echo through generations. I felt a profound weariness wash over me. The echoes of my past reverberated in every word she shared. What are you saying? I whispered, feeling the weight of our shared history pricking at my heartstrings. In that moment of vulnerability, Tricia glanced over her shoulder at Emma and Josh. The familiar flicker of pity crossed her face as she wrestled with her own impending revelations. If you ever loved this family, she said, her voice trembling, you need to know that Kenneth isn't just threatening you with lies. His ambitions extend beyond what you can imagine. A silence stretched out, heavy like the clouds above us. The enormity of her words sunk in, a weight that tipped the fragile balance we had been trying to maintain. What could she possibly mean? My heart raced, torn between the need for answers and the fear of what those answers might entail. Suddenly the ground beneath us shook, emblematic of our turmoil, and an unexpected crack thundered through the rain. The sky split open like the truth revealing itself, raw and brutal. Mom! Look out! Emma screamed, pulling me just as a burst of debris hurtled down from above, barreling towards us. Time stretched as I felt the world slow, my instincts overriding my fear. In a heartbeat, I lunged for Ethan and Emma, wrapping them in my arms as I cancelled out the chaos with love, mayhem colliding against our protective embrace. As the dust settled, hearts racing, it dawned on me his moment, this battleground of emotions and fractured alliances, was only the beginning. Kenneth's laughter echoed ominously through the chaos, a haunting reminder that he would stop at nothing to claim what he wanted. Just you wait. The real bombshell hasn't even dropped. He taunted, an unwavering smirk stretching across his face. And there, amidst the shattered world around us, an icy realization gripped my heart. The secrets Kenneth harbored might be darker than any of us had dared to imagine. With the shadows of betrayal lurking ever closer, one thing became painfully clear: we were all standing on the precipice of our fates, waiting for the next storm to reveal the truths that could tear us apart forever. The deafening roar of the rain filled my ears, distracting me from the chaos unfurling around us. My heart raced as I pulled Emma and Ethan close, our bodies a shaky bulwark against the tumult of the world shattering before us. I could feel Josh's steady presence beside me, reminding me that despite the storm raging outside, we had one another. Mom! We have to move. Emma pleaded, her voice trembling with fear, yet tinged with resolve. Please, I nodded, the urgency of her words piercing through the tumult in my mind, but uncertainty tangled with my instincts. I wanted to run, to escape, yet the immense weight of the truth pressed against my chest like a leaden burden. Kenneth's threats loomed larger than life, and I recognized I couldn't shield my family from the truths any longer. All our secrets were intertwined like an intricate web, waiting for the right moment to unravel. Tricia, I choked, searching her face for clarity amid the chaos. What are you saying? Please, what do we need to know? The moment felt suspended, as if time had reached an impasse. There was something in Tricia's eyes, a flicker of shared pain that mirrored my own. Lila, you have to understand they're not just shadows from the past. Kenneth has plans that involve everything we hold dear. Plans? I repeated, my heart racing as the implications took hold. What kind of plans? But before Tricia could respond, Kenneth stepped closer, an ominous presence that darkened the atmosphere like a menacing storm cloud. You're living in a fairy tale, Lila. Do you really believe that cutting ties with me removes the threat? Your choices have always had consequences, and now they'll catch up to you, leave her alone. Ethan shouted, his voice breaking through the tension, filled with an unwavering determination that sent shivers down my spine. This isn't just about you anymore. You've hurt her enough. Kenneth's laughter echoed like a haunting melody, a sinister soundtrack to the unfolding horror. Hurt? Oh no, my dear Ethan. This goes far beyond hurt. This is about legacy. The legacy of your family is steeped in deception. Don't you want to know how far back it goes? Perhaps it's time you learn who you really are. What do you mean? I interjected, desperate to defuse the venom swirling in the air. What do you want from us? What I want, Lila, he drawled, his gaze piercing deep into my soul, is for you to confront the reality that every secret has the power to destroy everything you love. You were never meant to forget, just to play pretend. The distance between us closed momentarily as I steeled myself against the wave of accusation surging forth. I've worked too hard to build a life for my children that is free from the past. I shouted, voice quaking with the fervor of conviction. Kenneth's gaze darkened, fueled by a twisted sense of triumph. Then perhaps it's time to learn the truth, dear Lila. Because those lies you've built your life upon. I hold the keys to shattering that facade. Wouldn't you agree, Ethan? I felt a rush of dread coiling in my stomach, realizing that the reality Kenneth hinted at could alter everything I held dear. It was clear that our family was not simply standing upon the brink of revelation, but in the jaws of a danger as vast as the ocean itself. Kenneth, stop. Don't bring him into this. I pleaded, desperation clawing at my throat. But as my words erupted, the storm crackled around us, mirroring the turmoil inside. Why not? Kenneth jeered, his smirk wide, revealing teeth that glittered dangerously in the shadowy light. He deserves to know that his mother isn't the saint she pretends to be. Stop it. Josh stepped forward, his protective instincts igniting as he positioned himself before Emma and me. She's not your punching bag, Kenneth. Every family has secrets. Yours just happened to be worse. Kenneth's gaze flickered to Josh, momentarily taken aback before the darkness deepened. Oh, how cute. Trying to protect her little family. You think you can stand up to me? You don't even know half of it. Enough. I remonstrated, drawing strength from the warmth of my children beside me. You think you can break us with your words? Well, guess what? We've weathered storms before. We're still here. Tricia stepped next to me, her presence grounding as she extended her arm. Lila, whatever lies Kenneth has spun, we need to face them. Together, together. Kenneth's laughter turned bitter, his demeanor shifting to something darker as if he relished in the turmoil. Oh, that's rich. Together, you say. But the truth often comes at a cost, doesn't it? And am willing to make the price as steep as necessary. Did I end that charged moment? I realized that every word he uttered contained echoes of warning, but they were merely tactics wielded to sow fear and uncertainty. No, I wouldn't let myself be swayed, and then it dawned on me. Perhaps I had been shackled by my past for too long, but it was our present choices that had the ability to fortify our bonds or shatter them altogether. Tell us the truth, Kenneth. If you believe that it has the power to tear our family apart, then let it come. Because I refuse to let fear dictate our future, I declared, my voice steady against the tempest swirling around us. Kenneth's eyes flared briefly, as if caught off guard by my determination. You think you know what you're asking for? Maybe I'm just done being afraid, I asserted, feeling the warmth of my children's hands fortify my resolve. The darkness surrounding us felt vast and omnipotent, yet I felt a glimmer of hope shining from within, like a spark igniting the match within my heart. Mom, Emma whispered, her small voice echoing with uncertainty, but I turned my head, holding her gaze steady. Trust me, sweetheart. Whatever comes next, we will face it together. Kenneth, I turned back, meeting his gaze head-on. If you have something to say, say it. Let's bring it all out into the light. The air crackled with tension, and for a moment, all I could hear was the hurried rhythm of our breaths and the steady dance of rain against pavement. My heart thrummed with trepidation as the moment spun out like silk threads, weaving the fabric of our futures closer together. Kenneth smirked, tilting his head back, laughing softly. yet there was a glint in his eye that belied deeper intentions. "Very well. Let's explore the truth, shall we?" The threat in his words lingered like an echo, sending chills down my spine. But there was an undeniable strength within me, an unwillingness to shy away from the very reality I had sought to protect my family from for too long. It was time to confront the shadows, to unearth the truths buried beneath layers of silence, hurt, and regret, and as the rain pelted down, I took a step forward, braced for the storm of revelations, ready to face whatever Kenneth unleashed upon us. "Let's begin," I breathed, steeling myself against the wave of uncertainty that draped itself over the night like a heavy cloak. With resolve radiating from my heart, I whispered the promise to both my children unbeknownst to the secrets yet to be rendered bare. No matter how dark the truth, we would illuminate it together. Through pain, betrayal, and heartache, I would protect them, and as the storm surged around us, I welcomed it all, knowing that even within the fiercest tempest, there lay the seeds of resilience. Sometimes, it takes a storm to nurture the strength we need to blossom. That I took a breath, summoning every ounce of courage within me. The truth was dark, but together it could bring the light.